Boring UFC fighters. That is what we are going to be talking about today, okay? And the inspiration for this video, I think you can guess it, okay? I've been having to deal with a whole wave of people giving Khamzat Chimaev the designation of a boring UFC fighter. And I'm going to be real with you. I get it not being entertained by the Dricus Duplessis matchup. I've already talked about that. If that's going to be the case, you do kind of have to blame Dricus as well. And I'll probably talk about that in this video. However, calling Khamzat Chimaev, who in literally every other matchup we've gotten out of him, we've gotten bangers, by the way. Like, I know bangers. Every single time, except for once, and we just label him, I'm sorry, no, stop it. Get some help. He's not that bland. But that got me thinking. Some of y'all don't know what a boring UFC fighter is. And there is. They're like, I'm sorry. Like, there comes a point where I hear, like, the MMA intellectuals come in and try to have this, well, no UFC fight can ever be boring. You're just a casual. You just don't like grappling. Brother, I think I like grappling more than you do, but I do it. You just seem to have this fascination with just watching it. Okay, mix the martial arts, yes. Mix more than just wrestling, dog. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, we're getting into it. In this video, I'm going to be going over some of the most boring UFC athletes currently on the roster, and I am ranking them on how boring I personally think they are as a UFC fan. And we're going to find out who is actually the most boring, okay? And our contestants today are everybody from the Decision Magician, Movsar, Almeida, Belal Muhammad, and Khamzat Chimaev. We are going to be ranking all of them today, okay? And if this video sounds good to you, please consider a like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I understand there's a play button right there. That's the other channel. Yeah, there's a whole lot. Let's try to get to 50K by the end of the year, 100,000 by July of next year. That is going to be the goal. And if we get that, brother, I'll spar Strickland. Why not? Let's spar Strickland. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the most boring UFC fighters on the roster. Let's go. Aljamain Sterling. Now understand this. It's not that Aljamain is boring. He's just boring in comparison to the people that we put him up against, okay? Aljamain Sterling's getting finishes. He submitted Corey Sandhagen. Yes, okay, the first Piotr Jan performance is not the best. I wouldn't call that boring. It caused some drama. He's the first ever UFC athlete to ever win the title out of a DQ, but was able to win the title against a Piotr Jan in the rematch and decisively beats a Piotr Jan. And you can call that boring. I call that effective. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you it's a bit super exciting, okay? But this is where it gets weird to me. Aljamain Sterling 100% had the most boring matchup on the entire card of UFC 300 against Calvin Kattar. Yeah, I can't really defend that. That was boring as fuck. That was extremely boring. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're getting a full body triangle, like, yeah, no, I would like you to get a finish, and there comes a point where I do got to do that. And then we put you up against a Movsar, and the UFC was trying to set you up to lose to a Movsar, and you ended up losing the Movsar, okay? And here's the thing. Movsar is one of, if not the most boring athletes current on the entire roster. I'm actually going to push him back so I can talk about Movsar later on, okay? But Aljamain Sterling, I'm sorry. I can understand he's a bit bland. I 100% agree that he is bland. He does have some good finishes. He is not the most boring UFC fighter currently on the roster. He does have some good scrambles. He does have a good highlight reel. He's just way less entertaining than everybody else that is around him. And I think for that reason, I'm going to put him a solid middle of the tier. Boring. I think he is a B-tier level of boring. I think that's a solid placement for an Aljamain Sterling. And no, this isn't me saying they're not good. This is me saying that, I'm sorry, bro, you are boring. Okay, like, I gotta put you there. Son Brady. Let me tell you something, bro. As somebody that talks up Son Brady quite a bit, I think Son Brady is actually, like, I kind of crassed out a little bit because Savkat Rakhmanov's now top 15 in the world and Son Brady isn't even on the rankings, even though Son Brady is literally ranked higher than Savkat in the very division that we used to justify his pound-for-pound ranking. No, I want you to think about this. And people tried to use the argument, oh, well, he got there because he's undefeated. That is not a metric. Then why is he not ranked higher than Son Brady then? That's really what I gotta say here, okay? But Son Brady is a wet blanket grappler. There's no other way to cut it, okay? Now, I can appreciate it. Understand this. There's if you're gonna say something is boring because he's controlling him the entire time, this is what has to be admitted to. It's boring, but it's dominant. The guy on top, the wet blanket, is so dominant that you act and I want you to say this. If you're going to blame the guy on top for making it boring, I need you to make this concession. The guy who's the wet blanket is such a higher level than the guy below that you can't be bringing him up anymore. We'll bring that up when it comes to Dricus du Plessis. But, like, if you're getting mad at Khamzat Chimaev for making the entire thing boring, you have to relinquish the point that Dricus du Plessis is absolutely nowhere near the level that Khamzat Chimaev is. And if you can make that concession, okay, we can make that concession. Son Brady, I mean, bro, controlled Gilbert Burns. Easily controlled Gilbert Burns. Can easily control the Calvin Gastelum. Submits to Calvin Gastelum. Same thing with the Leon Edwards. I mean, so, I was like, here's the thing. Bro smoosed him. Absolutely. Just smoossled him. All over that mat, dog. Used him as a mop to mop up everybody that came before, okay? Son Brady was the cleanup crew of that card, okay? Everybody else was working. You got blood, sweat, and tears all over the octagon. Boom, Son Brady comes in and he uses Leon Edwards as like a loofah. And then you got Leon... head's not dead. And then he's just not throwing any of that. And then proceeds to go for a takedown. And then Son Brady's like, thanks, bud. And then proceeds to win. Here's the thing. Son Brady, I like the guy. I keep on talking him up. He makes awesome t-shirts. However, here's the truth, dog. I would be lying if I'm not putting you in like a sleepy. I get pretty sleepy when I'm watching a Son Brady performance because I know what I'm getting. I think you need to put Son Brady with somebody that is going to make it exciting. And I'm just gonna put him in boring. I think Aljamain Sterling will at least play on the feet with you. Son Brady ain't doing that, dog. Son Brady ain't doing that, bro. He has a second back on his back. I'm putting him in sleepy. Sean Strickland. This is another one. Okay. Sean Strickland striking, it's top tier, 100%. Completely and utterly nullified Israel Adesanya. Like, just completely and utterly one of the greatest strikers currently in the UFC and ever in the UFC. Strickland completely nullified him. I would be lying if I said that it's pretty bland. And here's the truth. The most exciting part of Strickland striking is when he talks crap to his opponent. That's the truth. We're going to talk about that more when we bring up MVP. I'm actually going to move up MVP a little bit. But, like, Strickland's... It's a jab and teep fest the entire time. There's no crazy risk that's being taken, but you don't have to take the risk because they're already trying to win. Like, understand this. If you just want to win. Obviously do that. Number one, win. But I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's super, super exciting. The Adesanya performance, people looked over because of how crazy it was that Adesanya was able to outpoint Adesanya. Okay, Strickland came in there, was able to beat on short notice. But there comes a point where I hear Strickland say something like, we're going to go into the octagon and we're going to put out a so. And then I proceed to see a jab and teep fest. Like, the most exciting matchups out of Strickland's career, honestly, are the Dricus du Plessis performance and maybe Abbas Magomed. I'm putting Strickland. It's bland, dude. At least, and here's the truth. Bland striking is not going to be as bad as a bland wrestling. Sorry, weird cut there. My dogs were going ballistic. But bland striking is not as bad as bland wrestling because at least in bland striking, at a moment's notice, something can kick off. There's that build up. If somebody is smussing another guy in side control, more often than not, nothing's really going to happen. More often than not, it's not a blink and you miss it. It's I'm going to go get some water. Hopefully I don't miss anything. I put Strickland bland. And I will be real with you. Yeah, no, bland wrestlers are going to go in more of that boring and sleepy area than opposed to strikers. MVP. Somebody had to say it. Somebody actually had to say it. I'm glad somebody else did before me, but I'm actually going to go farther with it. MVP would be the most boring motherfucker on the roster if it weren't for the fact that he does like a full minute of emotes in between barrages. I'm sorry, dog. Like, MVP is so high IQ inside of the octagon. And I'm actually going to glaze it a little bit. His striking he might be the best striker currently on the roster. Like, on a real note, the fact that he is literally schooling everybody that he is with. Like, on the feet, he is schooling them. Schooled Kevin Holland on the feet. He had no clue what was going on at all. Ian Garry, and understand this, I'll make jokes about Ian Garry. Ian Garry is absurdly high level at striking. Like, he's really good. And Michael Venom Page was making him look like an amateur after every single... He turned Ian Garry into a wrestler, and I don't mind that at all. Okay? Sara Putin Magomed. This is literally the only thing that Sara can do. He has one eye. He can't really grapple. He once kicked a dude because he heel hooked him in a tournament, an ADCC trials tournament, where heel hooks are literally built into the culture. Okay? He got heel hooked and then kicked a guy. That's the real thing that you can look up, by the way. Also, the couple that he beat up. Let's look into that too. Okay, MVP is schooling Sara Magomed, which is the only thing that he can really do. Okay. And then we put him up against Jared Cannonier. And he makes Jared Cannonier look like an amateur level striker. I'm going to be honest with you. I can see a scenario where MVP just beats an Adesanya and a Strickland when it comes to strike. They will turn into wrestlers because I think this is what MVP does. MVP, if you're looking at like his style, he has mastered the ability of entering any single exchange on his terms. If you look back every single MVP fight that he's had in the UFC, there is literally, on one hand, how many times anybody's been able to put him not just on the back foot, but he's actually like, oh, what was that? And then gets clipped. Every single striking exchange that MVP gets into, he is entering it on his terms, and he is the one that wins that striking exchange. So he fundamentally takes the entirety of striking and makes his opponent into, man, like he's right there. He's right there. Why can't I hit him? And then you go in there, and then he's like, what the fuck? Why? And then you're like recovering a little bit, and he like subs you a little bit, and you're like, bro, why'd you sub me? And then this is what you see. Like, bro is just hitting he's spamming the emote wheel every single time that you whiff. Which frustrates you, and then you attempt to hit him again, and then he bop. I'm gonna be real, bro. This would turn most people homicidal if that's what you're striking against. I'm just gonna... Like, Joe, training with MVP has to be the most aggravating thing of all time. It's to the point where it's like, just starts me. Indent my head with a knee like you did to Cyborg, please. That's how I feel when we're talking about an MVP matchup. I think he might be the best striker in the UFC. It's pretty bland. I'll be real here. Like, is it as bad as a Strickland? No, because MVP's a way better showman than a Strickland. But no, MVP does deserve to be in the conversation for some of the most boring athletes currently in the UFC. Because if MVP didn't spam emotes every 30 seconds, we would be talking about how boring he is. I'm sorry, like, you would be talking about how boring MVP is if he wasn't such a good showman inside of the octagon. Not that bad, but he deserves to be in the conversation. Khamzat Chimaev. One boring... I think that's the part that bothers me the most. It's not the fact that people dislike the performance. I do not care. Yeah, bro, I didn't like that. Yeah, I get you. It's not my most... This is what I don't like. This are the two groups of people in this entire conversation that I do disagree with, like, fundamentally. I disagree with the people that say that if you didn't like this, it's because you're a casual. I'm like, brother, I think I've grappled more than you. I'm sorry. Stop. I like, mix the martial arts. Yeah, mix it then. This was like a grappling match, okay? Now it's because Khamzat Chimaev is so high level, like, in opposed to the grappling, Dricus du Plessis literally couldn't do anything, and Dricus du Plessis was battling to survive the entire time, and literally did not evolve or do anything in that entire matchup to give Khamzat Chimaev anything on the ground, okay? So, that forward, okay? But here's the other side. Khamzat Chimaev, bro, he's gonna be so boring. How? What do you mean? Look throughout his entire resume and find me 3 boring performances. Oh yeah, Dricus du Plessis, and keep going. Kevin Holland, submit him in the first round. Robert Whittaker, submit him in the first round. Gilbert Burns, literally a fight of the year contender. Kamaru Usman, another fight of the year contender. Another one, Gerald Meerschaert, KO'd in the first round. Well, what about that one guy he fought? You see how far back you have to go to argue a boring performance for Khamzat Chimaev? No, he's exciting. Dricus du Plessis is just good at defending submissions. I'm putting Khamzat... He's not that bad. I think Khamzat Chimaev is more entertaining than MVP if we're going through every single performance we have about Khamzat Chimaev. Brother, a fight of the year is under him. Well, it's because Gilbert Burns made it exciting. Okay. Khamzat Chimaev is not that bad. He's not that bad. I'm sorry. Calm it down. He had one boring performance. You are allowed. Kamaru Usman, most of his title run is boring. Okay? And he's considered exciting. Stop it, bro. I like GSP. GSP was a snooze fest for a long time. Not that bad. Belal Muhammad. It's despite what you may think, I don't think Belal Muhammad is the most boring UFC fighter on the roster. I don't think he is. There's somebody else that I think deserves that title. You know what? And I'm going to move him back a little bit more, too. Belal Muhammad, to give him some respect, did light the fuck out of Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady's cool. Oh my gosh, bro. I was just watching the JRE, and the loss that Sean Brady suffered from Belal Muhammad was apparently so bad, they literally had to bring in a mental coach to bring him back from the brink. And I'm over here I kind of get it. I kind of get it a little bit, bro. Imagine being the one dude that gets TKO'd by Belal Muhammad in the UFC. That's rough. I respect Sean Brady for being able to make this comeback to the point where I think Sean Brady could be champion. I'll be real with you. I think Sean Brady could legitimately become champion in the UFC because of all the improvements that he's made. But oh my gosh, dude. Belal Muhammad was the snooze fest generator. Dog, they didn't want Belal Muhammad to get the title shot so bad, they allowed Colby Covington to face Leon Edwards. I remember talking about that here. Yeah, no, the whole reason that Colby Covington was allowed to face Leon Edwards is that Leon Edwards didn't want to face Belal Muhammad for his first title defense, so they gave him a good pay-per-view bump. And that's essentially what happened. Belal Muhammad is sleepy. Bro, it's not better than NyQuil. There is one other person. I think this is what it is, bro. He seems just like an NPC type of human. And that's okay. He seems like a chill guy. Like an actual really chill guy. But oh my gosh, bro. There comes a point where I'm I understand this is a promotional black hole. At least he'll attempt the throw. And it's well, he made the JDM performance fun. No, he didn't. That's another thing that bothers me. Belal Muhammad actively was going after takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown. Actually, more than 4 takedowns he attempted. And JDM stuffed just about every single one of them. JDM made that exciting. He forced Belal Muhammad to be exciting. And he lost. Sleepy. That's how I describe my feelings when I'm looking at Belal Muhammad performance. Jailton Almeida. Dude, let me just tell you something. This is how I started on the Jailton Almeida bandwagon. No, Jailton Almeida hate bandwagon. What do you mean Derek Lewis goes to jail for speeding in a Lamborghini? And he gets bailed out of jail to face Almeida on a week's notice. And Derek Lewis takes you to a decision. I need that. Derek Lewis, well, he got dominated. Almeida, how could you call yourself a jiu-jitsu specialist if you cannot finish Derek Lewis coming out of jail? That might be the craziest thing I've ever heard. And from that point forward, Jailton Almeida is just not that excited. I cheered when Curtis Blades beat Jailton Almeida. The moment Curtis Blades beat Jailton Almeida, I was like, there we go, send them back. Send them 2-3 years. Thailand, then forget. Learn some striking. Learn a little bit of striking, though. You don't have to stand too much, but bro, being a boring heavyweight is legitimately a talent, okay? And it's not boring. It's boring. Aljamain's more exciting, okay? Whoa. No. Higher. Aljamain Sterling is more exciting than a Jailton Almeida. I'll stand on that, bro. Okay, being boring at heavyweight is just different. Merab, de vos really. Okay. The thing about Merab is as a personality is actually pretty funny. I think Merab as a personality is pretty cool. And I remember being a hater of Merab. The reason why I was a hater of Merab, I've said this multiple times, is because he spoiled Jose Aldo's retirement. I'm a Jose Aldo fan. I'm sorry. That's how it is. But Merab is a good promoter. Okay? The Sean O'Malley fight was boring. It is. I'm sorry. You got to admit that. It was pretty boring, and that largely is because of Merab. Get it. The second O'Malley matchup was pretty good, and because O'Malley made it pretty good. The Umar matchup was really good because you actually had 2 high-level wrestlers going up against each other, and there were scrambles going on, and you were like, yeah! Merab made that exciting as well. So did Umar. He deserves respect for that. And I'm thinking he's going up against Corey Sandhagen as... Dude, here's the crazy part. I would actually argue Corey Sandhagen's also kind of bland. I think he would be like a Strickland, a little bit more exciting than a Strickland. But Merab, honestly, bro, I don't think Merab is no, that's tough. Looking at everybody else on this list, I'm going to put him at the tail end of boring. Tail end of boring, but I want you to think about this. Merab used to be sleepy. Now we're moving down the boring. If the Corey Sandhagen performance is good, I'll move him down the bland. I think that's a fair placement. Magomed Ankalaev. Okay, you want to know what? Okay, there's a few misconceptions about Magomed that has to, I kind of have to bring up. Magomed Ankalaev. No. Alex Pereira was not ducking Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev was offered a title shot and said no to it the first time. That's why he had to go through all of that, okay? And I'm going to be real here. Out of all of the Dagestani guys, Magomed's not the most boring. He actually does strike. He will strike with you. There were moments in the Alex Pereira matchup where Magomed was lighting up Alex on the feet. Magomed will attempt to make it exciting. I don't think he's that bad. Now, he's not going to go at like an MVP and like a Khamzat Chimaev. But this is, I'm going to put this as a hot take. Magomed Ankalaev is kind of just bland. Like, that's the best way. How do you describe Magomed Ankalaev competition? It's just bland. Like there's no sauce yet, okay? There's no sauce. But, like, you're also comparing him to Alex Pereira and Yuri Prohaska. Like, the guys that are just absurdly exciting. Compare Magomed Ankalaev to Carlos Ulberg, and you're going to be like, Magomed's actually kind of exciting. I'm going to put him in bland. That's my placement. Ian Machado Garry. He's kind of just like a tit-for-tat point, like scoring points at the striking, and then he does that. Now, to give Ian Garry credit, Ian Garry has the ability to mix it up. He does have pretty good takedowns. Now, I mean by pretty good takedowns, I mean like it's above average, not like a Son Brady level, not like an actual like big wrestler level. But watching an Ian Garry performance, if I'm looking at the Jeff Neal, if I'm looking at the Shavkat Rakhmonov, if I'm looking at a lot of these ones that were prepared, like aside, like, the D-Rod one was pretty fun, but, like, brother, I'm sorry, D-Rod, you're meant to get highlights. You're meant to get a fight of the night on that. So, I can't really rate that all that much. I think Ian Garry's just kind of bland. I think he's just kind of bland. Like, there's, like, it's kind of like the, what would be the food equivalent of this? This is like the high school, hamburger of UFC fighters. It just works, and it's just, meh. Wait, we got Ian Garry versus this, like, he made a Carlos Prates performance kind of boring, but I also blame Carlos on that. I put it in bland. If I hear an Ian Garry matchup is happening, I put it in bland. Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy got a spitting elbow KO, okay, 100%, like, beat the dog shit out of Aaron Pico. Okay, he did. And he deserves a title shot, 100%. But, I'm sorry, Lerone, the reason why Lerone Murphy did not have a ton of hype before that, and people were rooting against him, is he is horrifically bland. And not bland in the way of like an Ian Garry or a Strickland or a Magomed Ankalaev. I mean like more bland than that. I would actually argue Lerone Murphy as a UFC fighter, up until the Aaron Pico spinning back elbow, was a boring striker. And this is the crazy part. Bland has been full of boring strikers and like some wrestling. I actually think Lerone Murphy is like the most boring striker I've seen in a minute. MVP, and I get it. Lerone's a cool dude, but I'm putting Lerone at the bottom of boring. I'm not sleepy, but it's bottom of boring. Movsar Evloev. Let me tell you something, bro. Movsar Evloev is the most boring athlete on the UFC roster. I'm just going to keep it dead ass with you, bro. Movsar Evloev is what y'all thought Belal Muhammad was. Movsar Evloev is what you think Magomed Ankalaev is. And I'm convinced after last weekend, Movsar Evloev is what you think Khamzat Chimaev is going to be. Movsar Evloev is the epitome of taking you down, holding position, winning by points. The only times where it has been minorly exciting is in the scrambling way and in the Arnold Allen was just robbed type of way. Movsar Evloev is actually the most boring UFC athlete I think I've ever seen. He's really talented. I will give him that. But, bro, it does hurt my... And this is what I've noticed, though. The UFC hardcores will, oh, no. Let me bring this up. The UFC hardcores will go around certain athletes, and they'll go around like a Magomed on Kalaev. And to be fair, Magomed's not the most boring, he's just kind of boring. They'll go around in Arman Tsarukyan. I've already talked about how you guys have overrated Arman Tsarukyan a lot, and when Ilia Topuria horrifically KOs him, you're going to make Ilia Topuria look really good, because Arman Tsarukyan was getting outstruck by Joaquim Silva. He lost to Magomed. Oh, well, that was a robbery. The fact that you're arguing that it was close tells me that that's just not good at all. He was getting outstruck on the feet as well by a I'm sorry, we're going into it with Arman Tsarukyan. Brothers Kets and Strays. Movsar Evloev is so boring, the UFC hardcore doesn't even want to defend him. The UFC hardcores went to Lerone Murphy. They didn't go to Movsar because they were like, bro, Movsar boring as shit. The people that love the styles that will literally destroy all hype in the UFC don't want to go to Movsar Evloev because Movsar is actually the most boring. When a Movsar Evloev comes on, I say that's better than NyQuil, baby. I turn on a Movsar Evloev matchup to go to sleep to if I have insomnia. It doesn't get worse than that. And there you go. Those are the most boring UFC fighters on the roster, in my humble opinion. I'm not saying they're not good. Obviously, they'll fold me up into a pretzel and actually have a super exciting performance against moi. Okay? That's the truth. But oh my goodness, I'm sorry, like some of y'all actually need to be taught the definition of what a boring UFC fighter is versus a boring performance. Boring UFC fighters can have good performances. Look at Belal Muhammad. Okay, that just happens. And this video was me going over that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 50K by the end of the year, 100,000 by July of next year. That is going to be the goal. And I will see you all in the next video. Adios, guys.